Ooh, hello, everyone, and welcome to So You Think You Have a Shark Tank Idea. My name is Gabriel Aviles. Thanks so much for joining me. I am with Full Blast Group, as you can see from my little icon there. Today, we are live with an aspiring entrepreneur, hoping to help them push their business or creative idea forward. We'll be asking some probing questions that hopefully help her to gain some clarity, direction, and motivation to unleash her idea to the world. If you've ever had a business or creative idea, but haven't known what to do next, and stick around, maybe this will help you too. So in the hot seat today is Tamra. And Tamra, I'm sorry, how do you say your last name?
Parask, like Paris, France with a K on the end.
Parask. Okay. All right, Tamra. Well, we've known each other for a little bit, but so I guess I should have known that. But anyway, thank you,
No,
Tamra.
it's all good. I don't know how to say your last name.
It's Aviles. Aviles.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So Tamra, we've known you for a little bit, but I don't know your idea too much. So I do know that you're a mom of four, that you are RN at Vanderbilt Hospital here in Nashville, Tennessee. You've actually had several side hustles in addition to being a nurse, and now you have a new idea. And so you shared a little bit about it with me, but we didn't go into too much depth. So for those that will be joining us now or later in the replay, let's go ahead and go through some of this together.
Yeah.
All right. So, any questions before we start?
Nope.
All right, well, let's do this.
I'm just winging it.
All right. So I'm going to be taking some notes too, and so I can ask you some questions. So when I look away, it's because I'm not checking my text. I'm actually taking notes. All right, Tamara. So what is your idea?
Well, my current idea, the one that I spoke with you about, is balloons and party decor. Mostly balloons, using that as party decor.
Okay. Now, is this, are you talking about balloons? Are you going to make balloons? Or you're putting them together for events or what?
Well, putting them together for events. I don't know how much, I don't know if you want to lead me into stuff or you just want me to talk.
Go ahead.
So because one of my other side hustles that I do, which is decals and t-shirts and monogramming type stuff, this just sort of fell in my lap, which made me, I hope, have a light bulb moment. So somebody called and said, "Hey, do you do anything with balloons?" And I went, sure, sure I do. They were specifically asking for a monogram to be put on a balloon for a baby shower. And that's how this sort of put me on this rabbit trail that made me start looking into this, because I went, oh, maybe I should look and see if there's a market for that to add it to what I'm already doing. But when I started researching, it just turned me on to this whole industry. I mean, it's amazing what's out there, and which led me to more research and a gazillion different directions about this, and it made me start looking at it more seriously.
So your idea that you're toying with, is it to actually manufacture monogram balloons, or is it to be tied into the event itself, or both?
Yeah, so no, to provide a service for events, whether it's anything from a birthday party to a graduation party, weddings. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a baby shower that somebody asked me about that made me start looking into this. But I'm talking about balloon decor mostly for events. So not manufacturing anything. I would be getting supplies from the wholesalers, creating the decor either on site or at home if it's small. But I'm learning that there's a lot of, balloons are big. Once you start looking at them. And so a lot of it would probably be like setting up on site, like decorations for things.
So like in an example that you mentioned of monogram balloons, are those you would do on site, or those you would be done ahead of time?
Yeah, so I have a machine that does monogramming, like vinyl monogramming, like decals. And that was the original reason the person reached out to me, was to say, can you put a monogram on balloons? Do you do anything with balloons? And I just sort of went, sure I do. And then I went and figured it out. And so that would be a combination. I would probably get the order and do things that I could do at home to prepare and get ready. But then the things that needed to happen on site, in the case you're asking about the monogramming, I would cut out the monogram and then do it on site or at home if it worked that way. I mean, either or.
So you're able to do that on site. So and we're just
Yeah.
talking about, we're not talking about animal balloons or that kind of stuff. We're
No, like the twisting and all that stuff. No, I haven't looked at that. Although I have, in my research, I've practiced that a little bit, but that part doesn't interest me as much. But then I've thought, well, find somebody that can do that and kind of incorporate that into your business if it comes up. I mean, I don't know, but I've made a caterpillar or two.
So is your idea then to focus exclusively on balloons, or is it more overall party decor, party/event decor?
I really, at this point, I'm thinking of balloons. So then I could incorporate or work with other people that are planning parties or doing other things. Not that I'm not open to whatever falls into place, but for right now, the focus would be I would provide the balloon decor. Other people could come in and do their part. But yes, balloons.
So then you would work under an event planner, basically?
I could. I mean, I could have, like, for example, a friend of mine just reached out and said, oh man, I heard about what you're doing, and I'd love to have you do our homecoming dance that's coming up. And so, I don't know if I would be, working with the person that's planning that event, whoever was in charge of that, or if it was just a baby shower, then it would just be, whoever's planning that event. If it's a corporate event, whoever's doing the planning part.
So I assume, are these helium balloons, or are they either or?
Either or. Helium. So just for example, like maybe a 6-foot column with a big orb balloon on top that has words on it, or if it's graduation or wedding or congratulations or the name. I just actually, just for practice, when somebody found out that I was looking at this, a friend of mine has twin girls that were having a Sweet 16 party, and she asked if I would do the balloons. And so I said, yes, please. That was my first sort of big event about a month ago. And I did that for free for her. She paid for all the supplies and stuff because it was my very first attempt, and it went really well. And so that I went, oh, okay, this went really well. I can maybe work a little bit towards this more. But so I did 2 6-foot columns for her and had the girl, her daughter's names on the top of those columns on these big orb balloons. And then I had, and those were all air filled. And then I had helium balloons all over the place too, and around a photo booth set up and the cake table. So I recently just did a balloon arch that would go like on a 4-foot arch that would go like on a cake table, those types of things.
So this is very specialized balloon decor. So it's not like I've got a party and I just need some balloons blown up and here and there. I mean, this is, we're talking about big structures, arches.
Yep. Yes.
Go ahead. Okay. What's the market for this as far as what would be a minimum order that you would entertain?
Well, right now I would do I am open to whatever. Let's say if this turned into having a brick and mortar store, people could walk in and order. Either they want a balloon bouquet, a 5 bouquet, birthday bouquet to bring to somebody's party, or maybe they just want a small table arch just for the cake table, or a small column, all the way up to doing a bigger event that had maybe a bigger arch or big 6 or 8-foot columns at the doorway entrances, like a homecoming dance or a corporate event, a wedding. Kind of the sky is the limit. So far I've done, that's.
So you're seeing this as both something that you do live at the event. You're actually on site, going beforehand, setting up everything, and then.
Yep.
But also it could evolve into a retail store where you would sell prepackaged arches or things like that they bring in themselves. Or what would the store do?
Well, I'm not sure about that. Because I'm thinking, well, would I just do this out of my home? Because it's something that you don't need a retail presence for, but I'm wondering if you could work it up into, and I think it would be fun to have just a fun spot in the community that where people could come and grab stuff while they're picking up the cake, and swing by and grab a balloon bouquet, or they could order and say, yes, for Thursday, I need I have a baby shower on Saturday. Could I get a table arch for the cake table? And so pre-order, yes, or they could just walk in off the street and buy a balloon for their kid.
So the retail aspect of it could be simply just a way for you to take orders on site, obviously, but also to showcase things.
Yes.
People can say, "Oh, I want that," and maybe they can catalog and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Do you have a name for this idea, your business yet?
I really don't. The one I had was taken when I started researching for like websites and stuff, and so I'm toying around with some stuff, but I don't have a name yet, actually.
So why did you pursue this idea? You said somebody came to you and asked you. It was basically kind of a spillover from something you're already doing at parties?
Yeah, so it was already something I was already doing, and it just sort of fell in my lap, and it made me start doing some research. And then then the more I started researching, the more I saw this market and this whole industry that's out there. And so my wheels started turning and I went, okay, is there something here? And so I, put a few feelers out and have done a few things and seeing that, it's working. Like I could do this. So it really just sort of fell in my lap and I just sort of started looking at it.
Okay.
Wasn't even on my radar 2 months ago.
Okay. So I know based on what information you already sent me, you're looking to find ways long-term to kind of come home and work from home and be your own boss. And so that's kind of what's driving this, to have flexibility and whatnot, right?
Yep. No, for sure. Kind of determined to find a way out of it. Yes. Determined to find some way out of that.
Okay. And you've invested a little bit of money in this. And then as far, you don't necessarily have experience in this kind of business, but you do have experience with being involved with events, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So it's not completely off topic. So you want to do this because is it something that it's just an opportunity, or do you really feel like you would enjoy this? This is something really fun?
Well, it's crazy because this has never even been on my radar, but I've enjoyed every other thing I've done that's sort of related to this. I mean, as far as party things or the decal thing I've got going. And yes, the opportunity for sure. But I really just see how fun could this be to all of my whole career has been, as a registered nurse with a background in intensive care and the emergency room. And so my whole career has been about, life and death things and stressful things. And this really has just been fun for me to, it just makes me smile. Like who doesn't like balloons, and kids, and just something to, I don't know, bring to the community that's sort of just fun and lighthearted. And I don't know, I think it would just be kind of fun to have that added into the community.
Okay. So do you have any kind of packages pre-made already or are you just kind of, or have you actually done anything? You have an order, I think actually you told me, right?
Yeah, so I have done a handful of things. I've done a couple birthday parties. I've done a Sweet 16 party. That was probably the biggest thing I've done, where they wanted bigger arches, like 6-foot arches, and more balloon decor around the whole room for the whole venue. Otherwise, I've mostly just done like little birthday, like table arches and table columns for the cake table.
Made ideas, or is everything customized?
I feel like everything pretty much is customized. If somebody wants something, and I'll sit, and I'll, colors, what do you want? Do you have any ideas? And also to bring ideas to the table when they don't have any, when they're like, I don't know, what do you, we don't know, take care of it kind of thing too. So, but no, not prepackaged, unless there was an actual brick and mortar store. We would maybe have some decorations around, that people could walk in and buy, say just, for baby showers, just already themed kind of stuff. Yes. Or some generic, just pretty, things that would work for them. But no, nothing prepackaged as far as, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, but.
Well, I'm just wondering if you plan on having, okay, this is a package that we do, it's this much and includes this, or everything is very customized. Let's dream it up, and as we go along and come up with something that works for you, or both.
Well, I think both. I think that as I've done research, because to look into pricing, to look, is this viable, any of that, I've done a little bit of research in that. And there would be, there would be packages, and probably, on a website, if you want a birthday bouquet of 7 balloons or 10 balloons, do you want them helium, or do you want them latex or foil? Or in just looking at that setup, we would probably have some pre-packaged things that they could order and just say, hey, we're looking for birthday theme or graduation theme, Christmas, wedding. And there would be, some preset things that they could order from.
Okay.
All the way up to custom, or can you do this? Or
so now, is your revenue model, I don't know how much you've thought about it, is it contingent upon actual on-site making money at the actual event for setup, or is it more about the actual product, so selling the product at a high margin, or some combination of, or where are you looking to make your money, your profit from?
So sort of both, and that is part of my learning curve. So is learning a little bit about models and revenue, marketing, all of that thing. So, but in looking at the viability of this, I started looking at the return on investment, or whatever, the margin, because the margin, there's potential for good margin for at low cost.
You mean margins for the actual product itself, for the balloons, or margins to go live at an event?
I think both, and mostly balloons, but the reason I'm going to the event is just to set up. So it really is the product. I'm providing the product, and which is taking my time, but the margin and the revenue comes from the product.
Okay, so it sounds like your goal would be to, which I think it should be, your goal would be to make your margin on whatever product you sell. So whatever balloon.
Yeah, the margin and the profit is with the order. Comes at the buy. And then
you actually being on site, or one of your minions being on site, that's sort of the extra service bonus added kind of thing, right? And
yes.
At a premium.
Yes. Well, and probably necessary, because to haul a bunch of inflated balloons around, if you're making 4 or 5 big columns, you're having to, it's a box of balloons versus renting a truck for, to haul hundreds of inflated balloons around. So yes. So in this instance, we're having to go on site. So that would be a regional thing, it all would be, but, within proximity, because otherwise, having thought through that, that's the only way to do it. Small things you can do, I can do at home, and I can prep and get organized and prep smaller things there at home. But then if it's big events, it would have to be going to the venue.
So I guess pretty much any order is going to have to be delivered. So people probably won't be able to go to your store, pick up an order, and take it home with them unless they have, or can they? Are there certain things that they can just order?
Well, they can if they have, if they have a car that fits it, or if it's a small thing like a table arch, they could probably fit that, or small, like little decor for baby showers and for home type parties. They could come and pick it up. And I don't know what that looks like for me. If it might be that, and most likely will be that working from home is how this starts, because I don't need a retail presence to do it. I put out some feeler. I just posted on Facebook and got like lots of inquiries and a few orders for things. And that was just throwing one Facebook thing out there just to test the market, even just to see, is anybody even interested in this? Or was that like a one-off where somebody said, hey, can you make me a balloon? You know what I mean? So it sounds
like, at least initially, I think we can categorize it as you're in the event space. You're not in the retail space. You're not selling.
Yeah.
It's really about a live event decor with balloons.
I think so.
At least initially, which
yeah,
morph into even online,
sure.
Maybe even instead of retail, or in addition to retail, going online. But it sounds like for right now, we're talking about you or somebody and people being on site selling balloon packages that you deliver and you set up, and maybe even tear down after the event or no, these are all self-contained. So
Yes, they would be responsible for the teardown.
Okay, so shipping and setting them up, delivery and setup.
Yes, and if it got big enough, because there's certain equipment that I need to do certain things, I mean, we're open to do whatever they want, I guess.
Okay.
But yes, in general, we would not be past the setup.
Do you have a good sense of your target market? I'm guessing it's the Nashville area, but for now, anything else?
I think it is a Nashville area, and I mean, I'm in Cool Springs, and it would be anywhere regionally around there. I mean, down to Spring Hill, up from Brentwood to Nashville, I guess. I mean, I'm thinking that, and I just, as far as specific, there's just so many things. There's families here that have parties for everything, every holiday, 4th of July, St. Patrick's Day, weddings, graduations, every holiday season that you can think of all along the way, back to school, schools out, schools in, schools, Christmas is coming. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, all the way to corporate events. So businesses and, that are promoting things and, corporate events and anything you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it sounds like it's regionally, special events, and you have a few orders already. So I think we've covered kind of the basics. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody in the area doing this? Are you competing against anybody specifically? Now, obviously, you're competing against potentially other types of decor, right? I'm guessing there are people that do flowers.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
They do, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of the Opryland Hotel. They do ice, ice
Yeah.
chocolate sculptures. I mean, so there's different kinds of decor, right? But but is there anybody specifically doing balloons?
So that was part of, over the last few months, I've really started looking around. So that was one of my questions, and I've done some research online, and it's kind of hard. You have to really dig to find, like, I go, okay, what do I Google if I want to order balloons? And you kind of have to dig around, and there's a few, maybe a handful of businesses in the area that I can find, some more than others, some just from simple balloon bouquets that don't deal with anything bigger than that, and then to a retail brick and mortar shop way across town. And so I've actually have visited a few places, but it seems to me that there's not, I don't know, and this is just my initial assessment. I haven't done a lot with demographics or any of that, and I don't know how. That's probably a learning thing for me. But in general, that was one of the first questions I asked, is the market saturated with this stuff? And I don't see where it is. I see where I would have to dig a little to even find some place where I could get that. Mm-hmm. It took a little bit to go, okay, who would I call if I wanted balloon decor? And there was a handful of online sources and a few shops, one a full-blown shop and is doing very well, and is sort of, I'm very impressed with. And then all the way from somebody having a little something set up in the corner of somebody else's shop. So, but I see, unless I, with further research, see that anything different, from what I can tell, there's plenty of room in this space. Mm-hmm. So we're not saturated at all, I don't think.
So this the shop that you mentioned, do they sell the balloons, or do they actually go to events and set them up?
Both. They do both, and they do bigger things that I'm not capable of. I mean, like huge things off of huge downtown Nashville businesses, and things that I would not be able to compete with them in, but almost to the point where I feel like my impression is that's their main market, and some of this other stuff that I would do is more of a courtesy for them. And so I'm thinking, okay, so I believe there's some space in the market to enter and be able to do well in.
So where are you seeing your differentiating factor? How would you compete with them?
Because I believe that from what I can tell, their focus, or where they're spending the majority of their time, is on things that I would not be doing, at least not in the startup phase. Bigger events, like huge balloon decor for huge conferences like Opryland, things like that, things that I could not do yet. But it seems to me that that's their main focus. The other stuff that I'm talking about, smaller parties, smaller events and stuff, they do those things, but it doesn't seem that that's their main focus. It's more of a courtesy.
Okay.
Not that there's not revenue for them, but so that's why I'm thinking that there's room in the market.
Okay. Well, it's possible maybe they have minimums as well that maybe you've already looked into that. So there may be a place for you to fall right under that. So, okay, well, that's good. I think that gives me a good understanding of kind of what you're going for. And you had already answered some other questions for me, but let's for the next few minutes here, how can I help you? What would you want a takeaway to be in the next 15, 20 minutes or so before we log off? How can I help you?
Yeah, so I think that where my learning curve is from the business standpoint, first, my takeaway is what's next. Like, where do I go even with my next steps of research or solidifying things? And then where my learning curve is with business in general, as far as legal structure and figuring out capital and also like the whole, I don't know what I don't know, so I don't even know what questions to ask. Like, that's how fresh I am at all this. I mean, I do these little side hustles, but I haven't actually concretely put something together. I know that I've started an e-commerce business using the Amazon platform. And so I have familiarity with just registering for a sales tax number and registering a business with the state. And that is a full extent of my experience. So yes, next steps are, I don't know what I don't know, and what would I do next to put something in an orderly plan.
Right. Let me ask you that: how much money do you have to pour into the business initially? I mean, I don't think you need tons, but I'm just curious. Do you have any kind of money that you can set aside right now to invest in the business?
Not in general. I mean, not more than maybe a few $1,000s, and that it seems to me that I would be starting this online and taking orders and rolling that right back in is what it would be for me. I mean, that's what I see, unless there's some other.
You mean creating a website, taking orders online, and then going out and doing?
Or even as much as, I mean, I'm surprised at what you can do just alone with a Facebook Marketplace. And starting, I mean, it would just be starting small and working my way. And yes, having a website eventually. I've talked with my sons already, who are software developers, about, okay, when can we get on this? So.
Okay. How much time do you have in any given week to devote to this? Because you do work full time, right? So.
Yeah, I work a few different jobs, but I also work. I make it so that those jobs are flexible, so that I have the time for other things. And so in my mind, if I was really going to concentrate on focusing on this, probably 20 hours a week, maybe.
Okay. So,
or, I mean, whatever you got to do,
Well, I think with 15 to 20 hours a week, you can make some very good steps if you have a plan and can be very focused on what to do next. So you have a few $1,000s. I mean, it doesn't look like. Have you gone through and itemized your expenses? So what that would be a first step. So what do you need as far as? I mean, there's certain expenses that are going to be just overhead expenses, like a delivery vehicle. Do you have a way to deliver stuff, or is that going to be something that you would rent out depending on the project? Is that how that works? Or so anyway, but the point is, go ahead. You can answer that.
No, I was sorry. I'm taking notes here,
okay.
So just
Go ahead.
All of the above, but go ahead.
Yeah,
so
so
far.
I think what you need to do is create a there's several things, but first one of the things you can do first is create a budget so you have an idea of how much this business is going to cost you to run. And I'm assuming that that there might be some expenses that will depend on the order that will be covered by the order. So for example, if you know the difference between overhead kind of costs versus the cost of goods sold, or things that are dependent on the order. So for example,
Right.
a website, you need a website regardless of the orders. You know, that's something that,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're just going to take orders via phone or Facebook, which maybe you can do at the first, you know. So, but then your supplies, your actual costs for the balloons and whatever things you need to do to make those would be variable based on the order. Your cost of transportation, I'm guessing, would be variable unless you happen to own your own fleet. So
Yeah, not
I'm
yet.
assuming that if you have access to, I'm assuming that you thought about what it would cost to rent something if you need it, if the delivery is large enough.
Yeah.
You know, you may actually consider only, you know, limiting your orders to where you can haul them. But anyway, I think one of the first things you need to do is go through and set up a basic budget of basic expenses that you needed versus expenses that are dependent upon an actual order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with a few $1,000s, I mean, depending on the business, people have started businesses on less, right? So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can also, if it's the wrong kind of business, or depending on what it is, it could really backfire if you don't have additional capital ready. Do you have any other funds available? Do you have a HELOC? Do you have, you know, if you get a bunch of orders at once and you need a bunch of cash up front, do you have other ways of getting capital, even to borrow, or any potential stakeholders? Do you have any access at all to anything else besides that?
I don't right now.
Okay.
Without sitting and actually thinking about it and going, you know, but in general, no.
Okay.
It really would be starting small, working my way up, you know, getting my name out there, word of mouth. This seems like it would be a word of mouth kind of thing too. And just getting out there, and so sort of word of mouth, people know I'm around, so I could build it, but it really would be starting small and working my way up.
Right, right. Well, there's always the balance between planning and making sure your ducks are in a row and just going for it, right? And you know, as a side hustler, that you know, sometimes you just go for it and see what happens, because you can make the plans all day long and then the business takes a complete pivot, right?
Yep.
So with this kind of business, I mean, it arguably, I mean, I can't be held liable for anything I say, so I can't say for it. But in some ways, it's a little bit more probably do it. You're still really in the testing phases, right? You still don't really know what the market is. You don't really have a gauge on what it's going to cost you. You're still figuring out what to offer, what to not offer, how big of an order to take, what your minimums are. What's going to be different about you. You're going to take orders by phone, you know, so there's so many variables right now that it's almost like you're in testing mode, which the reason why I'm going there is because maybe you don't necessarily need to, and I'm not giving legal advice, but you maybe don't need to worry as much about a legal structure. I think you do need to go register with the county, with Williamson County, the county clerk, and get some kind of business license.
Sure.
You know, there may not be any harm in remaining a sole proprietor for right now until the business grows, and then maybe you decide to invest a little bit. You could do a lot of this on your own as an LLC. You know, unless you're going to grow into a publicly traded company, an LLC is probably fine, maybe an S corp, but I'm not giving legal advice. Talk to a legal person. But yeah, maybe you start as a sole proprietor. Maybe you start taking phone orders or orders via Facebook and just test it out. I think there could be a danger in kind of over preparing, I guess, overthinking it in a way. And you know, over time, I mean, give this, if you really are devoting 20 hours a week to this, you're going to have plenty of time to be doing the work and also be thinking about you know, getting the word out, delivering, setting. I mean, you have, that's a good amount of time for you to work on, to be focused on the business. So I think to me, the focus would be to continue to take the orders, figure out what's working. At some point soon, you'll start to figure out what makes sense for you. I mean, I think you need to figure out also your capacity. So, you know, maybe figure out what you can and cannot do. How big of an order could you take? How big of and I don't know your business, but how big of an arch could you make, for example? How big of a delivery could you make? And
Sure.
And do you have any kind of vehicle right now? Like, do you have a van or a truck or something that you can use right now?
Yeah, so it really is just my own personal vehicle, and it's a SUV. So for instance, this Sweet 16 party I did where she wanted some bigger arches, I started in my living room and got so far before I went, you know what, not anything more than this is going to fit in my car. So we're going to have to take this to the site and do the rest there, right? And then I could prep and do some other things that, were smaller and just prep as much as I could and get there. But no, as far as vehicle, I've got just my own personal SUV.
Okay.
So it would be looking at if there's bigger orders, would I rent or, figure out something depending on the order. The order would have to be big enough to, to make that worth it. Go, oh yeah, we can go pick up a truck,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not out of the question if it would grow that big,
Right.
until I could do that, until it made sense to purchase something as far as, business wise.
Another thing to consider is getting in touch with this other competitor in town,
Mm-hmm.
and just telling them, hey, I'm launching a business similar to yours. I don't have your capacity. We're in different markets. Could I refer business to you? And
Sure.
see if I don't know. See if there's a way to for you to work out some kind of arrangement with them, so that if you can't truly handle an order, at least you're pushing along to them. You're still helping the customer, and you're maybe making a little bit of a commission. Ask
Sure.
them. They might say no and forget it, but or they say we do all orders, but
Sure.
you never know. I mean, you're obviously in different places than they are. So, so I would see this. There's probably so many things in your head about, I don't know, what do I do and how do I move this forward? So, obviously, I would recommend continuing to get more help as you go along. You're going to need help along the way. You're going to need somebody that you can touch base with that's can help you legally on the legal side of things. There's not a lot right now that you have to do other than registering for the county, unless you're going to start an LLC. But you'll need start to have somebody in your back pocket that can come with you as you need them. I don't know how you are with financials, but if there's somebody that you can lean on to help you on that side of things and help you making sure that you're thinking about all the budget items, that you're thinking about margins and things like that. And so if you're really good at that, great. If not, you might need somebody to help you to make sure that you're making wise financial decisions, that what you're offering makes sense on the back end based on your effort and your materials and your renting. Because there could be the overhead could start, not the overhead, but the cost to just do the job could get really hectic.
Yeah.
It's going to be all over the place. So sometimes you can use your car. Sometimes you'll have to get something else. So anyway, that would be something I would see if you can get any help along those lines, or someone that can help you with that stuff. But I would just continue to put the feelers out, take the orders. The first thing is getting customers and delivering for those customers.
Right.
Once you can start doing that, then we can talk about, okay, do I now go into LLC? How can I grow? What do I do? And if you start be looking for patterns, if you see a lot of business coming your way from bar mitzvahs, I'm making this up, but
yeah,
then maybe you consider kind of focusing more on that and how do you get into that world. But looks like you've got good word of mouth already. But I think the big danger for you will be, can you deliver what you said you can?
Yeah.
Because of your full-time job, because of your limited resources, because you don't have your own transportation. So I would be 100% focused on delivering on the business that you have right now. Not as much worried about legal structure per se. You can remain a sole proprietor, in my opinion. The money, it doesn't look like you need tons of overhead. I could be wrong, but
there's a certain amount of supplies that would be initial investment and not, but very minimal as far as relative to most businesses.
Right, right.
So for a few hundred to a few thousand, depending on, size of things, but really balloons. But then, I mean, there are certain things that make the job easier, or, there's $2,000 balloon inflators versus $500 balloon. You know what I mean? So really the potential to start very small and grow is there. I mean, as far as a business startup, you can start up for relatively low cost and go from there.
Mhm. I will say, don't forget about a business license. Check into that. Check with the county clerk about a business license.
Yes.
And depending on the county, you probably need a county one. You may need something in the city, but state-wise, you typically don't. Now, you will need to look into sales tax. I don't know.
So I have that. I mean, I have that already from other ventures. So I have, and I didn't know there was I don't know what I don't know. So the county thing, I just assumed it was a state thing. I didn't know you had to potentially register with county and city, and so that's good.
Sometimes there's also city stuff that you have to do. So just make sure you're kosher with the U.S., the state, the county, and the city.
Yeah.
I think actually offline I had sent you some stuff to look at in a private Facebook group. So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I wouldn't over stress about that. Just make sure you've got it covered. But because you really don't know where this is going, you might in 3 months you might decide, oh my goodness, wow, there's really a niche for this kind of business, and maybe I don't need a fleet of 15 trucks because there's plenty of business to be had in this vertical. And you can deliver what this other competitor is doing. I would call them and just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm doing this. I'm already in this business. Find out if they're open to referrals and how that works. And maybe that's a way for you to make little money and to still super serve your customers. But like I said, what I would just make absolute sure at this stage in the game, because your business has come from word of mouth. So just as easily as it's come, it can go away, and the word of mouth could kill you.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't take more than you can have,
yep.
more than you can handle. So I would suggest that you not take business that you can't deliver on. So
that actually has already come up already, and I've gone, no, I can't do that in that time frame. It is crazy. So that is something I'm very conscientious of.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's better to grow with good word of mouth and limit your services. They say there's riches in the niches. Limit your services, and like I said, I don't know the business well enough to know what that niche could be, but you will, and you do, or you will. So I would stay in that zone, and then over time, obviously, as you grow in revenue and you have other opportunities, you can always expand right into other areas and grow, and maybe go head to head with these guys that we're talking about here. Or maybe you take it a completely different route and you find a way to create more of a digital presence, or maybe you decide to expand not only into balloons, but you become more of an event planner almost, or handling any and all. So who knows where this might go, right?
For real, I've thought of all of those things and gone, okay, where can this go? So then my trouble always is there's too many shiny objects, and how do I focus on where? Because I don't, that analysis paralysis. So next step kind of stuff.
I would, like I said, I would focus on, and I've heard it said that, don't, until you get 3 orders for something, don't offer the service. So for example, somebody comes to you and says, hey, do you do flower arrangements too? Say, no, I don't do that. If you get asked that twice, then you're like, well, maybe I should. And so then, or maybe you just partner with somebody who's already doing it, so don't worry about shiny objects right now. Stay focused on the balloons only. Don't worry about becoming all-out event planner. Don't worry about getting deep into balloon manufacturing or customization. Just deliver on balloon events and for balloons, and just see where it goes, and just realize that you're in a testing phase. So you don't have to know it all. Just relax. You don't have to know it all. You won't know it all. And even when you know it all, it's going to change tomorrow, right? The market is always changing. The demand's always changing. So you never know it all. So just relax. Make sure you deliver on what you can deliver for now. And like I said, there's you can always, there's always some little things that, as I mentioned, some other things to keep in mind, like just start digging around, see who can help you when you need the legal help, when you need the financial help, do the little registration thing with the county. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's helping you. This is helping you so far, but.
No, it is. It's very much helping me budget and pricing, and actually sitting down and kind of itemizing things, and just next steps are good to know. So, what to focus on versus, because there's just so much. It's all chaotic in my head. So
One thing too that comes to mind is you don't necessarily. If you have unlimited capital, that's great, but or if you're able to do it, but if you, for example, don't want to do a website, maybe this is something that you create like a Facebook page, and not everybody's on Facebook, but probably a lot of the people that are having parties are probably very social, probably on Facebook somehow, and it's a great way to market what you do, have a Facebook page. And obviously you can showcase what you do. Instagram would be another place, but there's got to be ways that maybe you could even take, I do believe actually with Facebook, you have to have a website presence, but maybe your website's very basic. It's just, an order form, or, worst case scenario, you can do what you're doing now. People can just email you with your order, and, you'll want to start automating that. But there's that balance of creating so much structure and spending 6 months planning versus, you've got a live one right here. Just go forth, deliver. You'll learn as you go and make it up as you go. I don't typically recommend that for all kinds of businesses, but for what you're doing, it seems like that's the best thing. Like if you were creating, like I said, the next Apple or Google, or, they're probably some kind of medical device or something, you don't want to do that willy-nilly as much. But in this case, you're getting the orders, you kind of can make it up as you go. There's a demand for it seemingly. So I would just stay focused and deliver when you can. There's probably places that you're already, besides Facebook, there's places like Nextdoor. And are you familiar with Nextdoor?
I am. I'm actually on that. And I have in my other side hustle of decals, I've done quite well. When I've focused on that, I've gotten quite a few orders actually from there. Like, I generally push that like during the holiday and stuff, and got some good presence. I mean, got some good traffic from that. So
the other thing I would suggest is that two things. Make sure that you have somebody that's available at your disposal, because you need to have, you may or may not have a staff. You don't need necessarily have, but you need to have a few people that you can run to and pay them hourly to help you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do this on your own. You might even have several parties at once.
Yeah.
So,
I've thought about if it grows. I mean,
yeah. So
that whole balance of all of that, and the beauty of it is it's not hard. It's just you need to be able to do it, and so you have to be available. And so my daughter actually, who's 15, has been a big help. So yeah, and she has lots of friends who need gas money, and so I've thought, so there are, and I've reached out to people. I feel like this has been so valuable to me, even just confirmation, just like, yes, you're thinking right, or no, leave that alone for right now, or just to make sure that I'm on the right track, because I don't, you don't know what you don't know. So so a lot of what you're saying is just real valuable to me, just so that I know I'm on the right track, and not, so that alone is helpful.
Good. Well, I'm glad.
And valuable. So.
The only other thing I would say too is I would be careful and not chase a bunch of shiny objects. So, there's probably only one side hustle that you could do really well.
Yep.
So if you really truly believe in this, then you've got to give it a shot. You've got to. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to give up your other side hustles, but you really have to focus, because, yeah, I mean, you've already got enough to focus with your regular job and your family and everything else. So this has got to be a focus for you. And I would recommend also, like I said, that you have some kind of consistent outside advisor, counsel, people that can help you as you have questions and whatnot. So, because they will come up. I mean, maybe there's some small business groups and whatnot that as you progress that you may want to be a part of, and you realize the importance of support and people that can bring ideas to the table. So anyway.
Yeah, very much. And then there's a class in October specifically to this industry in talking about budgeting and pricing, and so I've already looked into seeing if I should try to get myself to that. It's up in Gatlinburg, so
Awesome.
So it's on my I'm hoping to make that too. So I have to switch a few things around, but I think that might be helpful. So
awesome. Well, I probably need to cut it off here in a second. Do you have one last question?
I don't. I think we covered. I mean, I think I feel good about what we covered, and I have some notes here, and
okay.
Yeah.
So this has been helpful then. Good.
Yeah, very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tamra, for being brave and vulnerable today with your idea. I know it's tough to get your idea.
I was like, okay, yes, just step out. You can't get anywhere if you don't step out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those that were watching and those that are going to be watching the replay. And if you're in the Nashville area, look up her services. Whenever you have a website, you'll have to let us know so I can put it in the comments here. So I
will do that.
For those of you watching or now or in the replay, if you'd like to see more of these, type in yes, please in the comments. And if you have an idea and you'd like to be on the hot seat like Tamra, then type in I have an idea and then go to fullblastgroup.com, fill out my contact form describing your idea, and I will review it and let you know if I think I can help you and schedule you in. I'm open to all kinds of ideas, small business ideas, software apps, other business ideas, creative ideas, I have books, movies, courses, podcasts, those kind of things. And then meanwhile, if you need some ongoing coaching, feel free to go on fullblastgroup.com/coaching. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of So You Think You Have a Shark Tank Idea, which I believe is happening tonight, but don't hold me to that. All right. Thank you so much, Tamra. We're logging off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.